over about this time, and I've done some map discussions in the fall, and I was just looking at my notes last night from last year. I actually did this about a year ago today, so I'll go over a couple of things from last year, then relate into what's happening now. This is what I presented last year at this time. This is the outlook for precipitation from March, mid-March through mid-March last year. You remember about this time last year when I gave a discussion, I was talking about how wet it might get late February. And at the time, I didn't really think it would be that bad. And right after I gave this discussion, where there was a lot of rain up the Ohio Valley, southwest Pennsylvania, with flooding into the mountains near Johnstown. This is the outlook last year for mid-March, and it showed above normal chances for precipitation to be wetter than normal here in March. So after we had a little warm up about this time last year, about a week later in this, it got really wet. And after that, as you know, it got pretty cold. That there is through mid-March for temperatures, and I'm showing from northern Virginia up through Canada below normal temperatures expected. That carried right into April last year. This is actually the visible satellite last year. You can see snow cover across New York State, high and mid-level clouds across southern Pennsylvania, and mix of clouds and snow across here. A lot of snow cover across Michigan into the upper lakes. That's a year ago today. We went further out in time last year. April, as far as I was concerned, was pretty cold. That was the outlook into early May for the temperature. So basically below normal on most of the northern tier of the U.S. there. We pretty much, April and early May last year, up to the first 3 days in May, was very cold with snow showers. And that was the precipitation forecast for early May last year. Above normal for most of the country except the southwest and Florida. And about the May 3rd last year, we just got warm. We got warm very fast. So this year, we've basically seen a very active weather pattern across the northern tier. Plenty of storms across northern Michigan, northern New England. Seattle's been getting a lot of snow last few days, over a foot this month. I think that's in record territory for Seattle. Further south into Boston, as of midnight last night, from what I can tell, they had 4.7 inches of snow in Boston. Compared to northern New England, Maine, the opposite extremes happening in southern New England. Normal was about 27 inches. Last year was pretty close to normal. So going back to last year, it was supposed to be cold last March. It was. As I mentioned, early May, we went from cold up to summer-like. A very wet year last year after mid-July, and we had a lot of flooding, flash flooding. One of the worst events I can recall, we had one early August Spring Creek flood, but the worst one I can recall was Mount Joy east of Harrisburg, late August, talking a foot of rain, not inches anymore, 2-3 inches, but a foot. That seems becoming more commonplace. So far, early July this year was fairly dry here. I was down in Florida, Central Florida. It was early part of January, very dry. Central Florida had very wet summer, one of the wettest on record. And as I mentioned this time last year, we got very wet. And the other day, last week, was on a conference call over the Ohio River forecast. People concerned about what was coming into this week with all this precipitation that had a lot of flooding out in the Ohio Valley. Basically, last couple of years, we see some mild spells in February, especially late February, where we got near record temperatures. Current events, caught wind of this last night, basically, northwest of San Francisco, Oakland, into the Bay Area, especially northern part of the area north of the Bay, had mudslides over half a foot of rain. West Coast ridge has been western U.S. ridge has been fairly strong up to recently. Now we're looking very fast west to southwest flow. And what you can see on the European GFS models is very fast flow with generally wet conditions over much of the country. Not particularly warm pattern anywhere. And given that fast flow, I suspect we might get some severe weather across the southern states. Our MIC is out in Hawaii right now. It's not particularly nice out there either. There's been some flash flooding and snow in the higher elevations out there. Basically, at this time last year, we were getting a lot of heavy rain after this. But prior to this, we had a lot of ice in our rivers, especially Susquehanna River near Harrisburg going south. Given the rain we had last week, previous short intervals of how cold it got, even though it got cold, it's only a couple days. Not had the extensive ice buildup we had last year. So we had that big cold snap after Christmas a year ago. Currently, this is a surface map. Here we got low pressure over Iowa, cold front down across Missouri. Temperatures are warming nicely into the 40s west of the mountains. Guidance here the other day was up near 50, but given the ice and snow cover and the high clouds coming in, I don't think we're going to get that warm today. Maybe go in the mid 40s. Definitely better than yesterday. Help get some of the ice off the ground. Still pretty cold across the Dakotas, and below zero at times out there. -850 temperatures yesterday at this time, about -13, -12 across here. Southwest Ohio, there you got about 35 knots of wind at 50 millibars. Temperatures just above the zero line, so we're warming up pretty good. Basically +4, +5 air over the eastern plains, Iowa, and Michigan, heading towards Michigan. So we're warming up really good here. Basically, that's the large-scale satellite loop. We're starting to get a lot of high clouds across southwest Pennsylvania and southern PA. As I said, that's going to get in the sunlight. Basically, it's very fast flow, moisture off the Pacific now. That gives you the big picture there. Coming closer in here, you can see the snow cover under the high mid clouds. You can see the Finger Lakes real nicely. Southern Canada pretty much cleared now. A lot of snow cover up there. Over a foot of snow once you get north of the lakes there. This is a 6-hour precip here on demand. Basically, the heavy precip right now has been, as I mentioned, in California. Seems to be the main event right now. This is for today. Little maps I cast out, basically current event we just had. So if you look at all the models you have, all the guidance, we use graphics to generate the forecast over the weather service. So if you look at all the information you get on the eyeball or the internet or whatever source you're using, you got to somehow make forecasts, and we generate graphics, and from the graphics generate text forecasts like zone forecasts, statements, warnings, watches, fire weather. And when you have mixed precipitation, it's very hard to figure out how to get back into the graphics. Putting the temperatures in the graphics is fairly easy to do in weather guidance, but putting the weather in is a really big problem. A lot of people spend a lot of time trying to draw maps. And the storm we had in November was very, had a lot of cold air up to the north of Blackened High, and a lot of dry cold air came in mid-November. That storm put down very heavy snowfall rates, a couple inches an hour. Big cities like New York City didn't get good cleanup going. Part of the problem was the changeover was an hour too slow. So just by snowing a couple extra hours real hard, 1 to 2 inches an hour, you make a difference in the forecast. December, we didn't really have any big storms. January, I worked the tail end of that storm. The problem with that was cold air came in behind the storm, ahead of the storm. There wasn't a lot of cold air there. East-west boundary to the north of the Arctic high over Canada was much further north than what we had in this storm the other day. The storm the other day, eastern New York stayed in the teens, where western New York only got into the mid-30s here. And we're about the same here with some cold pockets. So I worked Tuesday, a Monday night and Tuesday, and just kept going back and forth on the precip. Models wanted to warm up Johnstown real fast Monday night with freezing rain. It did go over briefly, and back and forth much of the night. So I think the key to the forecast has been pretty dependent on whether there's a lot of cold, dry air to the north of Blackened High. So that map there, my coworker made for the past storm, just to keep track of what was what and what the timing was. And he has to hand generate different tools and graphics for the weather. And you can change one thing like freezing rain. You break the groups up into 1 hour pieces, 3 hour pieces. It's a lot of work. You know, that's the basically GFS model here. Looks like the new run's in by now. So currently, got that low over Iowa 540 line just south of here. I go back and forth at work with the GFS and EC, try to compare a couple of charts and pick one I want to use. That's 48 hours, getting out to the weekend. Cold fronts through here rather fast tomorrow morning. The top weak ridging there this Saturday with a 540 line across southeast PA. Pretty strong wind fields there, but basically it's warming up. We're going to get a couple of showers with this, and the 540 line getting further south, and probably get a few snow showers in the mountains like Bradford, but nothing really terrible. There's another weak wave coming across Missouri at that time. That poses some questions for Sunday and Monday. So basically, you got a low pressure system here and down across the Carolinas to go out over the weekend, and basically it's not a very deep draw, so things aren't going to be moving along. You might think, well, it's further south, quite a ways to the south, so we may not get anything from that. It's going to be close. Maybe the southern part of the state might get a little dusting by Sunday. Originally, the system for tomorrow, we're looking at quite a bit of rain potential we had a few days ago, but the miles backed right off towards any low wall. Going back to demand, it's basically getting out of waves here. So Sunday, see a bunch of weak lows across the southern states here, the Carolinas, 540 line south of here. So anything it does come down Sunday would be form of snow. What you're getting into is you got weak lows to the south, but your jets a little bit further north. You're kind of digging a big trough across the southwest there, and a lot further in time towards the next weekend, a week from now, drop big some, and somehow miles, especially the European, kind of amplified the southeast ridge, what we had back earlier in January. So we may be trending a lot warmer by next weekend. But given all the energy, it's kind of very active weather pattern with this fast flow off the Pacific. As I said, even Hawaii is getting a lot of precipitation, cold weather, flash flood. Any questions? Well, anyway, you can keep a map and basically some of us draw maps like that. You scribble on paper and make notes.
Still comes in handy.
Mhm.
questions for Dave, or all set? All right.